happens when the world loses its heartbeat. One island, one failure point. If Taiwan goes dark, the global economy flatlines. Trade stops, supply chains snap. Your phone, your car, your job, your government. All of it depends on one island the size of Maryland. Taiwan's global influence rests on three strategic pillars. First, the economic and tech pillar, the Silicon Shield. Taiwan produces the most advanced chips on Earth. TSMC doesn't just dominate the industry, it's the backbone of AI, cloud computing, 5G, and modern weapon systems. If Taiwan's chip supply were disrupted, the shock would ripple across industries. Think automotive plants stalled, electronics shortages far worse than 2021, and trillions in economic damage. Second, the geostrategic pillar. The Taiwan Strait is a maritime superhighway. More than 1/5 of global seaborne trade passes through this corridor. Any blockade, even a temporary one, would hit Asian economies first, especially Japan and South Korea, and then radiate outward. Third, the political pillar. Taiwan is one of Asia's most vibrant democracies. Its political system stands in stark contrast to Beijing's model, making it symbolically important for democratic partners across the region. For Beijing, Taiwan is a core interest tied to national identity and party legitimacy. But here's the strategic dilemma. Even if China were to succeed militarily, it would face what analysts call a Pyrrhic victory, winning the territory but sacrificing long-term national power. A conflict or blockade would disrupt $1.4 trillion of China's own trade. And here's the part most people miss. More than half of the traffic through the Taiwan Strait is internal Chinese shipping, cargo moving between Chinese ports. Disrupt that, and China risks a domestic logistics crisis, with factories starved of fuel and inputs. Financial risks are massive too. Beijing would face sanctions, frozen assets, capital flight, and long-term isolation. The economic pain could derail its ambition to become a comprehensive global superpower. And geopolitically, an attack on Taiwan would force Asian states to pick sides, ending decades of hedging and potentially isolating China across the region. For the United States, Taiwan is central to both regional stability and national security technology. Washington's commitment is shaped by the Taiwan Relations Act, help Taiwan defend itself while maintaining strategic ambiguity. But there's a growing challenge: political uncertainty. Different administrations may take different approaches. Some might double down on deterrence, while others could pursue a deal with Beijing that reshapes America's stance on Taiwan. Technologically, America has its own exposure. The US relies heavily on Taiwan for advanced semiconductors. The CHIPS Act aims to reduce that dependence, but building equivalent capacity at home will take years and enormous costs. Taiwan's engineering know-how simply can't be replicated quickly. So the US must do two things at once: rebuild chip capacity at home and help Taiwan protect its semiconductor ecosystem, because global supply chains still depend on the island for the foreseeable future. Washington also has to counter Beijing's gray zone tactics, cyber attacks, economic pressure, and legal warfare over UN Resolution 2758, the tools China uses to shrink Taiwan's diplomatic space without firing a shot. No US ally has shifted its Taiwan policy more dramatically than Japan. For decades, Tokyo stayed vague. That changed completely in 2025, when Prime Minister Takaichi Sanai
declared that any Chinese military action, including a blockade, would be treated as a survival-threatening situation. This is huge. It gives Japan a legal basis to use collective self-defense and to support US forces in a Taiwan contingency. Japan's vulnerability is obvious. Its economy depends on sea lanes running directly past Taiwan. More than $5 trillion of Japan's trade flows through these waters. In a crisis, Japan's self-defense forces would likely help evacuate Japanese citizens and key Taiwanese personnel, support US forces in Japan, and potentially participate in strategic economic blockades that pressure China's energy imports. Japan's shift adds another layer of deterrence, but it also raises the stakes for regional escalation.
The world is more exposed to the Taiwan Strait than at any point in modern history. A major conflict could wipe out $10 trillion in global output, trigger supply chain collapses, and ignite debt crises across developing economies. The interconnectedness of chip manufacturing, maritime trade, and global energy flows means nations far from Asia would feel the shock immediately. The lesson from the 2022 Ukraine war is clear. When the world reacts too slowly, the cost multiplies.
Taiwan's future will be shaped by more than military power. It sits at the intersection of technology, economics, and ideology, and the choices made by Taipei, Washington, Tokyo, and Beijing will define the stability of the Indo-Pacific. A stable status quo depends on one thing above all: Taiwan's ability to stay resilient, militarily, economically, and diplomatically. Because the cost of failure wouldn't just be regional, it would be global.